Here's my top 5 destinations in Utah. And first up is Zion National Park. The biggest highlight? The massive, colorful rock mountains. So tall, sometimes you can't even see the sky. Hiking here is a serious workout, but it's worth it.
Go for the banana. Okay, no feeding wildlife. Sorry.
Next up on my list of top destinations in Utah is White Pocket. I actually discovered this place by accident. One day, I updated my macOS and the background image changed to something so surreal, I had to know where it was. After some digging, I found out it was White Pocket, deep in the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. That's when the research started. How to get there, what to expect, and how to plan the trip. First thing you need to know, getting there is not easy. You need a 4x4 or an all-wheel drive vehicle with high ground clearance. Otherwise, you're almost guaranteed to get stuck in deep sand, stranded in the middle of the desert without cell service. Because of this, not many people visit White Pocket, making it one of the best places for photography. When you take photos here, you don't have to worry about crowds or tourists accidentally photobombing your shot. It's just you, the incredible landscape, and the silence of the desert. Camping here is another unforgettable experience. With no light pollution, the night sky is unreal. You can see countless stars, and if you time your trip right, even the Milky Way. But beware, the desert can get windy, so make sure your gear is secured if you're camping overnight. For the truly adventurous, there's also a hike from White Pocket to the Wave, assuming you already have a permit for the Wave. But it's not a marked trail, so unless you're an experienced hiker and really good at navigation, you could easily get lost. It's remote, wild, and absolutely stunning if you know what you're doing. Now, let's talk about what makes White Pocket so unique. It's geology. This landscape looks like something from another planet, with swirling, twisted rock formations that don't seem real. The area was formed over millions of years through a combination of geological processes. White Pocket is made up of Navajo sandstone, the same type of rock that forms famous places like Zion and the Wave. But unlike those places, White Pocket's formations are a result of something called soft sediment deformation. Millions of years ago, this area was a massive sand dune field, and under certain conditions, probably earthquakes or rapid water movements, the sand became liquefied, shifting and swirling while still buried underground. Over time, minerals seeped through, turning parts of the rock white, red, orange, and pink, creating the stunning layered patterns you see today. Another unique feature is the pillow-like formations covering parts of White Pocket. These formed because the rock was still soft while it was buried, and as it compressed and hardened over time, it created the bubbly, uneven texture you see now. The name White Pocket comes from the whitish domes of sandstone that contrast with the deep reds and oranges of the surrounding rock. Unlike places like the Wave, which have extremely strict permit requirements, White Pocket doesn't require a permit. The Grand Canyon is massive. If you don't have time to hike all the way to the bottom and you want to avoid the big crowds at the North Rim, Point Sublime is a great alternative. It's remote, offers free tent camping, and gives you a stunning, quiet view of the canyon, without the tourist rush. Getting there is actually much easier than White Pocket. You don't need a hardcore off-road vehicle, but you will need something with reasonable ground clearance since the road can be rough. Once you arrive, you're right on the edge of a cliff, looking down into the canyon. That means two things: incredible views, but also serious wind. When I camped there, the wind was so intense that I had to secure everything tightly. Even then, I was constantly checking to make sure my gear wasn't flying away. The drive back had its own surprises. Strong winds had knocked down trees along the road, completely blocking my way. I had to clear the fallen trees using my car just to get through. It's an adventure for sure, but that's part of what makes Point Sublime such a special place. You're completely surrounded by nature, far from any distractions, with the sheer depth and layered rock formations of the canyon all to yourself. On my way back, I stopped by the North Rim Visitor Center and did a short hike to take in a different view of the canyon. But again, the wind. It was so strong that my hat flew right off my head. straight into the middle of a cliff. It wasn't exactly in a safe spot, but I figured it's still littering, even if it wasn't intentional. So I decided to go down and get it. That's when I realized I'd attracted some unexpected attention. Tourists at the viewpoint started watching as I climbed down, probably thinking I was doing something crazy. In the end, I got my hat back, got some weird looks, and left with a memorable story.
Then whose is that one there? Yours? Oh, get that $100 bill too. There's somebody's wallet.
Did he get it? I was thinking, now watch the wind picking up.
Hey.
He's pretty tough, so I think he'll... So cool. Shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't want to leave.
Next up on my list of top 5 destinations in Utah is Cottonwood Cove, located in Coyote Butte South. It's part of Vermilion Cliffs National Monument and is one of the best alternatives to the wave.
We're in the Coyote Buttes. I spent 2 days in Kanab, Utah to win a lottery to be here. This has been my dream for past 2 years. And only 8 people, 4 groups were selected to come here yesterday, and I was one of them. And I got here at 4:30 and sunsets at 7:30. So I saw one car leaving. When I got to the parking lot, nobody's here. This entire place, I'm here all by myself. Shit. This is like my top 5 best destination I've ever been in my life. Absolutely gorgeous. The shapes, the colors, yellow, orange, pink, white, red. And this is like a second wave.
Getting a permit for the wave is nearly impossible, but honestly, Cottonwood Cove is just as stunning. If White Pocket feels like a molten, hard, masculine landscape, like a planet shaped by fire, then Cottonwood Cove is its opposite. Brittle, soft, gentle, fragile, and vulnerable. It's like stepping onto another planet entirely. The formations here are so delicate that every step feels like it matters. It's easily one of the top 5 most beautiful places I've ever seen on Earth. The sandstone formations here are intricate, delicate, and otherworldly. Swirling red, orange, and white layers create patterns that look like a painting. The formations are so fragile that every step matters, and every visit changes the landscape slightly. That's why it's important to respect this place and leave it as pristine as possible. Unlike the North Rim or other easily accessible parts of Utah, getting to Cottonwood Cove is an adventure on its own. It's about an hour's drive through deep desert sand from White Pocket, and you absolutely need a high-clearance 4x4 vehicle. If you don't have one, you won't make it. The road starts off relatively easy, but as you get closer, the sand gets softer, deeper, and more unpredictable. I've personally gotten stuck out here before, and trust me, you don't want to experience that in the middle of the desert, miles away from cell service. Keeping momentum is key. Once you start slowing down, the sand grabs your tires, and getting out is a nightmare. The last stretch near Paw Hole is especially tricky. The road becomes narrow with tight turns, and if you're not careful, you could easily slide into deeper sand or even damage your vehicle on hidden rocks. This is not the place to push your limits if you're new to off-road driving. Go prepared, bring recovery gear, and know what you're doing. One thing you need to know, you cannot visit Cottonwood Cove without a permit. This area is federally protected, and BLM, Bureau of Land Management, officers actively check permits. They won't hesitate to turn you around if you don't have one. And honestly, this place is so special that it makes sense. Too many visitors would damage it beyond repair. The moment you step into Cottonwood Cove, you realize just how fragile this place is. The sandstone is so brittle that every footstep causes small pieces to break. And that's where the dilemma kicks in. You want to explore, experience, and take in the beauty, but at the same time, you don't want to be the one responsible for eroding it further. This was the first place I've ever been where I actually felt guilty stepping on the ground. The formations here took millions of years to form, and yet every visitor leaves a permanent mark in some way. The sand itself feels sacred. It's untouched, smooth, and perfect, except for the footprints you leave behind. That's why it's so important to be mindful, tread lightly, and respect the landscape. One of the most incredible things about Cottonwood Cove is how isolated and peaceful it is. Unlike places like Zion or Bryce Canyon, where you're constantly surrounded by crowds, this place is quiet. You can sit on a rock, look out at the vast desert, and hear absolutely nothing but the wind. No voices, no traffic, no distractions, just pure, uninterrupted nature. And the best part? No human traces. When I visited, I didn't see a single piece of trash, no plastic bottles, no wrappers, nothing. It's rare to find a place that remains so well respected, and we should all do our part to keep it that way. Pack out what you bring in, stay on designated paths, and minimize your impact. Overnight camping isn't allowed here, and with my one-day permit, I knew I had to leave, but the sun started setting. Driving through deep sand and pitch-black darkness didn't seem like a good idea, so I stayed. I didn't pitch a tent. I just stayed in the parking lot area, taking photos of the Milky Way all night. Stargazing. I didn't venture off into the darkness as ground is uneven. If you use flashlights, hard to see the stars. The night sky was unbelievable. At one moment, a huge shooting star tore across the sky, so bright that for a second, it felt like daylight. I had never seen anything like it. It was scary, surreal, and unforgettable all at once. As soon as the first light broke and it was safe to leave, a BLM truck rolled in. It was time to go. Getting here? Absolutely not for everyone. Getting here is harder than White Pocket. The sand is deeper and softer, and without the right vehicle, you'll get stuck. You must bring recovery gear also. But if you can handle the challenge, Cottonwood Cove offers one of the most breathtaking and untouched landscapes you'll ever see. Just be prepared, respect the land, and appreciate every step, because every step changes it forever. Lake Powell is one of the most surreal places in the Southwest. No permit is needed, but you do need a high-clearance vehicle to get to some of the best spots. The contrast here is unreal. Deep blue water surrounded by towering white and orange rock formations. When I posted photos, my friends actually asked if I was on Mars. That's how otherworldly it looks. Whether you're boating, kayaking, or just exploring the shoreline, Lake Powell is a place that doesn't feel real until you see it for yourself.